Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show tonight. Tonight, we're going to talk about how when you allow crime to go unchecked in your state, crime runs rampant and children die. But before we get started, let's say hello to everyone in here. And I hope everyone is having a very good day. And thank you so much for being here. If you just happen to be coming in and lurking, go ahead, join the live chat. We would love to have you in the live chat. It's beautiful in the live chat. And if it gets ugly, I'll make it beautiful. So go ahead, join the live chat. Hit the thumbs up on your way in and make yourself comfortable. And we're glad to have everyone. Welcome to your Wednesday. All right. So let me get started here. We're saying hello to Teresa. We're saying hello to Stephanie, Five Green Acres, Misty Porter, Sarah, Don McKenzie, Rhonda Holton, Dennis McKean, Amy, Mrs. P, Nancy Drew 101, and the Royal We Digital, Pert In It, All right, we got Christina, EWTN, Miss K, Dawn Steele, Oleg Cat, Jonathan Smith, Dieter, Lowered Customs, Siren Cindy, Sweet Dude Shibby, Miss Haunted Parlor, Jenny 33, Jim Chrisman, The Court of Public Opinion, reminding you to subscribe, like, and do it now. Kelly's here. Lena, Mimi's in the house. Jammer Beforn, Tammy Martin, Her Baby Daddy, Jen, Evo Laska. All right, Brenda Mays, Can't Think of One. Donnie Pitbull Kuntz, what's up? Rebecca Ann, 1965. Kate U, Low Light Recovery, Carla Ann, Shelby Cramp, Christina Dean, Brandola Girl, welcome to you. Birdie 81, Belle Mayhem, True Tammy. Thank you for dipping in and saying you're listening. That's acceptable as well. Thanks for letting us know you're here. All right. And Judith Galloway, Plain Iron. Steve Z. Stubbs. All right. I think I caught everyone. If not, apologize. Just let me know down below. Debbie Fox, how are you? All right. So welcome to tonight's show. So there's a lot of news today, and so what we'll be doing tonight is looking at what I said, and I called it "When in Rome," and you'll be figuring out why as we go. So I guess let's get started. Oh wow. Okay. Oh, just a moment. I apologize. Let's see. All right, we'll get started here. Let's get started with this. Just a moment.
We begin tonight with a search for answers in the death of a 15-year-old girl whose body was found along the set of railroad tracks this weekend. Thanks so much for joining us tonight at 10. I'm Dan Spieler.
And I'm Beershald May. Today, Fox 59's Max Lewis spoke to the family of Shaylee Snyder. And as he explains, they believe her death was no accident.
It was a railroad employee who spotted Shaylee's body here along these train tracks on the southwest side of the city. Tonight, her family desperate to find out how she ended up here and why.
We found that she had, just left. She was lured into something that she probably shouldn't have been.
Shaylee was reported as a runaway more than 2 weeks ago on February 10th. Her family believes she'd met someone online and went to meet up with them. Nearly 2 weeks later, on Saturday afternoon, her body was found near these railroad tracks, and not too far away, an abandoned vehicle that had been torched, the charred grass still visible today. The coroner's office says Shaylee's cause of death is still pending and has not ruled it a homicide, but her family is convinced.
Do you guys believe that there was foul play?
Absolutely. We figure that the car that was found burning had something to do with her death.
Shaylee's family asked to remain anonymous, saying they're fearful of the person who might have done this to her. Their fear and sadness also accompanied by anger, accusing police of not taking the case seriously.
We feel like if we could have got some help and been on this a little more, she might have been found before it got this deep.
IMPD has said very little about the case, only that it's an active and ongoing investigation. For her devastated family, answers can't come soon enough.
Because Shaylee was so loved and she was so loving. And we just love her and we miss her.
We just hope she wasn't in pain and we hope she didn't suffer.
If you have any information about Shaylee's whereabouts, what might have happened to her, or just her case in general, you're asked to give the IMPD Homicide Office a call. We'll have their information posted for you on our website. In Indianapolis, I'm Max Lewis, Fox 59 News.
For a 15-year-old teen who'd been missing for 15 days was found dead this weekend.
A tough situation for an Indianapolis family. The Marion County coroner identified Shaylee Snyder today. Snyder was last seen on the morning of February the 10th. Her family put out a flyer, the one you see right there, calling for help finding her in the Beech Grove area. On Saturday, we got a tip about a death investigation near Minnesota and High School Road. The caller said there was a burned up car, and today we confirmed that Snyder's body was found in that same area near railroad tracks on South 6B Street. IMPD tells us those are two separate investigations, and the coroner says that Snyder's cause of death is still under investigation. At 84.
You knew at 4.
And unfortunately, yet another dead young girl in Indiana, and another pyromaniac. These people run rampant and have full control of northern Indiana. And if you don't think so, you have another thing coming. Remember, she was lured using social media. All right. I blame Doug Carter. I blame Jerry Holman. I blame Nick McClellan, Fran Gall, Tony Liggett, Tobe Lesenby, and this entire corrupt establishment in Indiana for this type of crime, because it's going to continue as long as you let the killers of children run free. It was shortly after midnight when Shaylee Snyder's family received a knock on the front door from officers with the IMPD. At first, Shaylee's mother was hoping that police were there to return her missing 15-year-old daughter, who had disappeared 2 weeks ago. Instead, the family was given the news no one wants to hear. Shaylee Snyder was found dead on February 22nd in the same area as an abandoned 2016 Chevrolet sedan in the 1800 block of South Sigsbee Street near the train tracks, according to police reports. The Marion County Coroner's Office confirmed her death yesterday on February 25th, but has yet to determine the cause of death. The news of Shaylee's death came as a shock to the family, as her parents said they had not heard back from the detective assigned to her case. That's right. The family is blaming the police department for allowing this crime to come to this, because the police department did not take her disappearance seriously. You're going to learn more and more. The parents said they had not heard back from the detective assigned to her case. According to police records, Snyder was declared a runaway on February 10th. Information from the missing persons flyers indicates that Shaylee was last seen in Beech Grove near South 17th Avenue on February 10th. Shaylee's family had provided the Indianapolis Metropolitan PD and the Beech Grove PD with all the information that they knew about her and her disappearance. However, Schneider's family believes that the police did not handle Schneider's case with the level of importance and urgency that they were hoping for, because she had been declared a runaway. Shaylee's mother believed that police had dismissed her daughter's disappearance and dropped the ball. Again, Shaylee's mother believed that police had dismissed her daughter's disappearance and dropped the ball. It's unclear what led to Schneider's death. In an email to Indy Star, police said the department is still investigating. The Marion County Coroner's Office apologized. I thought the ringer was off. Okay. In an email to the Indy Star, which is the periodical I'm reading from, police said the department is still investigating. Still investigating. The Marion County Coroner's Office also said her death or cause of death is pending investigation. When it came to information regarding her disappearance, much of the publicly available information came from her family's social media pages. Indy Star asked the IMPD if they had released any prior information about Snyder's disappearance to the public or media. The department did not answer the question, noting that the case was still being investigated. Sound familiar? Another one, a terrifying mystery has left the family of a teen girl scrambling for answers after she was found dead next to railroad tracks besides a burning car. Shaylee Snyder, 15 years old, was missing for over 2 weeks before she was found dead on Saturday afternoon near the tracks and on Indy South Side. Snyder was reported as a runaway on February 10th. Now the family is calling her death suspicious and raising questions about law enforcement's handling of her disappearance. The cause yet has not been determined. However, Snyder's family told Fox 8 that they suspect foul play. Still, the Indianapolis Metro PD is currently treating the incident as a death investigation rather than a homicide. But that could change once the coroner completes their investigation. Yes, they're buying time. The Marion County Coroner's Office confirmed the team's body was found at around 2:12 p.m. along the railroad tracks. A 2016 Chevrolet sedan that had been set on fire was discovered near Shaylee's body. We figure the car that was found burning had something to do with her death, Shaylee's grandfather said. For 15 days, relatives had been distributing flyers in the area in a frantic attempt to locate the missing teen. Shaylee's heartbroken parents, who asked to remain anonymous out of fear for their own safety, believe the teenager may have fallen victim to an online predator. She was lured into something that she probably shouldn't have been, her aunt told the outlet. It's so gut-wrenching. Now the family's grief has turned to anger as they claim police failed to take Shaylee's disappearance seriously for 2 weeks since she was first reported missing. We feel like if we could have gotten some help and been on this a little more, she might have been found before it got this deep, her grandfather added. Shaylee was so loved and was so loving, and we just love her and we miss her, her aunt said. A 15-year-old girl who was reported as a runaway on February 10th, 2025, was found dead on Saturday near the railroad tracks on the city's west side. The Marion County Coroner's Office confirmed that Shaylee Snyder was discovered at 1800 South Sigsbee Street. The girl's cause and manner of death is still pending. The Indianapolis Metro PD said the incident is currently being investigated as a death investigation, not a homicide. That could change following the results of the coroner's investigation. However, Shaylee's family said that they suspect foul play. She was lured into something that she probably shouldn't have been, her aunt said through tears. It's so gut-wrenching. Her family asked to remain anonymous because they're fearful of the person who may have harmed Shaylee. Her aunt said she believes Shaylee may have met a man online and left to meet up with him. This is sad, y'all. The biggest red flag, the family said, is the abandoned vehicle that was found near Shaylee's body. The black 2016 Chevrolet sedan that had been set on fire. We figure that the car that was found burning had something to do with her death, Shaylee's grandfather said. The family had been sharing flyers in an attempt to locate Shaylee for the past 15 days. The 15-year-old girl was believed to have been in the Beech Grove area, according to the flyer. Their fear and sadness is also accompanied by anger. The family blames the IMPD detectives for not taking Shaylee's case more seriously. We feel like if we could have gotten some help and been on this a little more, she might have been found before it got this deep, her grandfather said. IMPD issued a statement about the case on Tuesday, stating that detectives spoke with the family on February 12th and said that no information gathered led them to believe the girl was in immediate danger. But she's dead now. The family did tell detectives that Shaylee left the house without her cell phone or any form of technology that could be used to track her. Yeah, you know what? It sounds like she was probably coached to leave that phone behind. Homicide detectives were called to the scene when Shaylee's body was found, and detectives canvassed the area and obtained video footage, which they continue to review for clues about the case. IMPD said investigators plan to conduct more canvasses this week. Anyone who had any contact with Shaylee is asked to come forward and speak with detectives immediately. Detective Shem Ragsdale at the IMPD Homicide Office can be contacted at 317-327-3475. Or you can email the detective at shem.ragsdale@indy.gov. That's SHEM.RAGSDALE@indy.gov. Shaylee's family hopes to have answers soon, but for now we are left with a big hole. But for now they are left with a big hole in their family. Shaylee was so loved and was so loving, and we just love her and we miss her, her aunt said. So apologize. It's difficult to get through that. Indiana is allowing child predators to cannibalize on their own children, and it's sad. And the culture of fear is so deep in Indiana that the family is afraid. And so they don't want to be identified. So let's take a look at some other headlines, because we got some other headlines. Okay. Two Fort Wayne women arrested on human trafficking charges. Indiana State Police's special investigation detectives, that means the buffoons in charge, and the Bluffton Police Department are investigating a case of human sex trafficking of a child that occurred in Allen County and Marion County in Judge Gold's own backyard. Leticia Granados, 21, of Fort Wayne, and Harley Cooley, 20 years old, of Fort Wayne, have been accused of recruiting a child for the purpose of sex trafficking. The child had been recovered by family members who reported the trafficking to law enforcement. The Indiana State Police special investigator then began a months-long investigation into the trafficking of this minor. On February 20th, 2025, just days ago, the investigators, which included Indiana State Police SWAT, the Bluffton Police Department, and the FBI, served a search warrant at an address on Franklin Avenue in Fort Wayne, Indiana. While serving the warrant, another victim of human trafficking was recovered. That's right, not just one. The victim was offered services and medical attention. During the investigation at the Fort Wayne address, detectives also found an amount of suspected fentanyl. With the cooperation of the initial victim, it was determined that Leticia Granados and Harley Cooley were involved in online solicitation of the child and themselves. Are you hearing that? Online solicitation of the child and themselves. It was also discovered that there are other victims involved. Indiana State Police is actively seeking out other victims. If anyone has information involving Leticia Granados or Harley Cooley having contact with victims for sex trafficking, please contact the Indiana State Police Fort Wayne post at 260-432-8661. Leticia Granados, 21, of Fort Wayne, was arrested for promotion of a human sex trafficking of a child, level 3 felony, 2 counts. Child exploitation, production of child pornography, level 5 felony, 1 count. Harley Cooley of Fort Wayne was arrested for promotion of human sex trafficking of a child, a level 3 felony, 2 counts. Child exploitation, production of child pornography, level 5 felony, 1 count. And here are these pieces of shit. Two Fort Wayne women accused of trafficking missing Northeast Indiana girl, and another. This is Leticia Granados and Haley Cooley. They're set for a probable cause hearing Tuesday, which was yesterday. The two women are accused of trafficking a 17-year-old girl over several days, setting up about 20 sexual encounters between the girl and adult men. Two Fort Wayne women are accused of trafficking a missing Northeast Indiana girl, court documents say. Leticia Granados and Haley Cooley are set for a probable cause hearing on Tuesday, that was yesterday. accused of trafficking a 17-year-old girl over several days, setting up about 20 sexual encounters between the girl and men, according to court records. Granados is accused of talking with the teen over Instagram late last year before taking the girl from her home to Fort Wayne. Less than a week later, the court documents show, pardon me. The girl said she wanted to leave home and was connected with Granados, who told the girl she would make a lot of money. Granados, who told the victim she just had a girl quit, picked the girl up with Cooley, court records say. The women then took the girl's phone, gave her a new one, and then drove her to Granados' home. Granados and Cooley taught the victim about sex trafficking. Listen to this. Including the meaning of certain terms, prices, according to the time, and how to collect money from men, court records show. They also took photos of the girl, unclothed and clothed. The photos were then posted online along with the nickname they gave the girl. A day after the girl was picked up, the women took her to meet a man in Fort Wayne, Kroger parking lot, court documents say. The teen was given $160 by an older white man to perform a sex act, which Granados took half. The girl was later taken to Indianapolis. Sounds familiar? Where several other encounters were scheduled, including sex acts that included Granados, court records show. When they returned to Fort Wayne, the women moved the teen into a hotel due to circulating social media posts about the girl being missing. Less than 10 days after the suspects made contact with her, the girl was recovered from the hotel. As an Indiana State Police detective investigated, he found advertisements that included photos of the teen on websites frequently used for escort services. Court documents say. Advertisements as recent as last month allegedly included photos of Cooley and her continuing to offer sexual services. One of the photos resembled a nude photo Cooley allegedly took of the victim, or took with the victim. When the detective spoke to Granados, she allegedly acknowledged taking the girl from Fort Wayne and admitted to taking her to Indianapolis, court records say. She claimed Cooley was behind the sex trafficking. Of course, it's the other one. Detectives also spoke to Cooley, who allegedly admitted to picking the girl up and taking her to Fort Wayne, as well as to Kroger for a sexual encounter, court documents say. Cooley claimed she learned the girl was a minor when they were at the Fort Wayne hotel. She said she stopped posting photos of the girl once she learned her age. Yeah, right. Cooley told the detective Granados would set up dates for her and the girl, taking half the money they earned in exchange. Oh, so now it's the other girl, right? How about it's both of you? Both women are charged with child sex trafficking, child exploitation, and 2 counts of promoting sex trafficking. They have been held at the Allen County Jail since Thursday. But Judge Goh will let them walk for sure. Fort Wayne, 2 women have been arrested for allegedly sex trafficking children. Indiana State Police say a months-long investigation led to the arrest of Leticia Granados and Harley Cooley. Reports state that the women allegedly recruited a child for the purposes of sex trafficking. The child has since been recovered by family members. According to ISP, troopers served a search warrant last week at a residence on Franklin Avenue in Fort Wayne. Reports state troopers found another victim of human trafficking at the home as well as suspected fentanyl. ISP says the initial victim helped to name Granados and Cooley for their connection to trafficking, which included online solicitation of the child and themselves. According to ISP, other victims are believed to be involved in human sex trafficking in Allen and Marion counties. ISP is asking for anyone with information about the women having contact with the victims to call 260-432-8661. Granados and Cooley are facing preliminary charges of 2 counts of promoting human sex trafficking of a child, level 3 felonies, and child exploitation, production of child pornography, level 5 felony. Yeah. And that's those girls, okay? State police are searching for other victims. It was discovered that other victims are involved, ISP said. If you have information on Granados and Cooley and their contact with sex trafficking victims or minors, you're urged to contact the Indiana State Police Fort Wayne Post. Again, that's 260-432-8661. These women were also in possession of fentanyl. Both women were arrested and charged. Granados is also charged with the exploitation of a child. And listen to this one, y'all, because this one isn't in the other articles. Under 12 years old. One of these children, the other child, is under 12 years old. See? Last sentence. Both women were arrested and charged with sex trafficking. Granados is charged with the exploitation of a child under 12 years old. All right, please give me a moment. All right, sorry guys, I got a little emotional. It's really horrible what happened to that girl. And it has echoes of Delphi, which is also horrible. So I got another story for you. Like I said, this is what we're doing tonight is a brief survey. We're doing a brief survey of the past 24-hour headlines from Indiana. Thank you, thank you, Dennis, McKean, and Deb for the super chats. I appreciate you. Appreciate you. Another hitter from yesterday evening. Lafayette police bust a man with 7 pounds of meth. Lafayette, Indiana, February 25th, 2025. A traffic stop by Lafayette police officers uncovered roughly 7 pounds of methamphetamine. The Lafayette Police Department arrested Kenneth Preshon, 50, and Shastini Skaggs, 26, on preliminary charges of dealing methamphetamine. Kenneth Preshon also faces a potential charge of dealing cocaine after 1 ounce of the drug was found during the traffic stop. Y'all, 7 pounds of meth is a lot of fucking meth, if you don't know that. According to police, the traffic stop occurred on February 21st. The stop was part of a coordinated investigation between the Lafayette PD, the Howard County Violent Crimes Task Force, and the Tippecanoe County Drug Task Force. All right. And there you go. So pay close attention to this photo. I wish I could blow it up. Each bag is a pound. Okay, each bag is a pound of meth there. That's a lot of meth. Okay, that's a lot of meth. You're talking about, I don't remember the figures really perfectly right now, but it's getting into six digits, six figures. Okay, that's either 80 or $100,000 worth of meth, right? That's a lot of meth. All right, but let me ask you this: for all of you newbies, wet behind the ears, how far is that from Delphi? How far is this from Delphi? Yeah, 7 pounds. It's a lot. Um, good point there, Steve. It's a lot of any drug. Yeah. Yeah. And remember, with the two dumb girls from the previous, they had fentanyl, which they could have been giving those little girls. And who's to say this shit ain't fentanyl laced right here? Exactly, Four Pits. Thank you. When in Rome, this is where I'm going with it, but we're not there yet. It gets worse. Believe it or not, it gets worse because we got one from today. Okay, y'all ready for the next one? Fort Wayne, February 26, 2025. That's today. That's today. The Fort Wayne Police Department says a 31-year-old man was arrested Tuesday following a child abuse investigation involving a 7-year-old. Okay, Fort Wayne again. Fort Wayne PD says the Indiana Department of Child Services contacted officers on February 25th, that's yesterday, to assist in a child abuse assessment after a 7-year-old was reported to have multiple injuries. During Fort Wayne PD's investigation, officers say they learned 31-year-old Jacob Pfeiffer was allegedly involved in causing the injuries. According to police, Pfeiffer was taken into custody Tuesday on preliminary charges of felony battery to a minor, felony domestic battery to a minor, and felony neglect of a dependent. The Fort Wayne Police Department would like to remind our community to seek help if you become overwhelmed while caring for children. Don't be a piece of shit like this guy. Hurting a child doesn't solve anything, Fort Wayne PD wrote in a release. 7 years old. What do you think he's on? What do you think that guy's on? One in Rome. You see, Indiana has proven that children don't matter. You get why I'm upset tonight? How long we've been dealing with this? You see, when they left Keegan Klein out in that community for years, knowing what he was doing, you understand that? They let the families of Abby and Libby be out there in that community. They let those girls in Flora, those 4 children who were murdered, they let them die. And they sent the message to everyone in Indiana, it's okay to kill these children. It's okay to sex traffic our children. It's okay to have the meth and the fentanyl around these children. When you're trying to use Richard Allen to make the brutal, horrible murders of Abby and Libby go away and let or allow the real killers to run free, you're sending a signal. You're sending a signal out to all the would-be murderers and predators. So they run amok. Which is why I say, when in Rome, do as the Romans do. When in Delphi, they're going to continue to exploit, murder, and victimize children. Lyric and Elizabeth, no justice. Abby and Libby, no justice. Stephanie and Maya Thompson, no justice. The Flora Angels, no justice. Now you have Shaylee Snyder. This is why I said we need a RICO. We need a RICO. Yeah, right. Greg Ferenczi. Greg Ferenczi, no justice. Let's take a look at a few things. Pardon. Let's take a look at some things. You've seen this. Remember, I've been saying that you have all of these people who should let me rephrase what I'm trying to say. You have all of these people who should have been investigated. What is law enforcement doing? All of these people should have been investigated. Oh, but not in a cover-up. No, in a cover-up, you don't investigate the crime. That's the thing. You don't investigate the suspects who are likely responsible. In a cover-up, you look the other way. So let's look. Let's look at some Delphi areas of concern. So you may remember that I've expressed a lot of concern about Kokomo. Let's back it up. When I say that northern Indiana, the criminals are allowed to run amok, I'm serious about it. And isn't it rich? Isn't it just rich? That at the first biker gathering for Delphi, which included thousands, think about how unusual that is. Mike Patty got his ass up and personally thanked who? The Milwaukee Irons out of Kokomo, Indiana. Yes, that's right. Kokomo. What is it about Kokomo? Hey, do you guys remember the huge bust in Kokomo? They took down an entire network of meth dealers. And who does Mike Patty think out of everyone in the world and out of thousands of bikers? A Milwaukee Iron Motorcycle Club of Kokomo, Indiana. What's weird about that is that Tina Rodell said some guys came pick up her daughter, Megan Allen. You remember the story. Surely you do. I mean, I know law enforcement didn't investigate this. Actually, the story is, the story is that Steve Mullen was made aware of these kids. And his story is he went to talk to them and they were too blasted out of their minds. They were too strung out. So he just abandoned it. But Tina says that she thought that there were drugs in the trunk of that car that came to pick up her daughter. She called Sheriff Lesenby to tip him off about the drugs. And guess what? He didn't care. Now, she said the men with her daughter were Elijah Cook, Keegan Callis, Josh Weaver, Tyler Joe French, and possibly Travis Janicki, and a guy named Garrett. Okay, a guy named Garrett. She also claims her son was not part of the group. But we don't believe that. We think she's making an excuse for her son. She said that her daughter called from the High Bridge. Okay, hello. She said her daughter called from the High Bridge on February 13th, 2017 at 2 a.m. begging for help. Are you listening? She alleges that when Megan came home on the 15th, which is when? After the bodies were found? Yeah. That her daughter was raped and beaten by those men as part of an initiation, quote unquote. Oh yeah, but she's changed her story these days. She don't want to talk about it anymore. This initiation, it's rumored, was for a quote unquote Sons of Odin group. Now, I want you guys to think critically out there. Sons of Odin group. Think critically, okay, please. Sons of Odin group, quote unquote, that's a loose phrase. 12 hours before Abby and Libby are allegedly attacked by some Odin guys. Hello? Does anyone have a brain out there? Are we all 10 men out there? Does anyone have a brain? Two a.m. on the 13th of February at the High Bridge, she's beat and raped by a group of men as an initiation into a group that the mother thought might be called the Sons of Odin. Well, who were these guys that they said were over there 12 hours later? Some Odin guys? Oh yeah, and who were the guys in prison threatening to kill Richard Allen and his family? Oh, some Odin guys? Tina shared that the Delphi murders could have been an act of retaliation or revenge against Derek German, Libby's dad. Tina Rodell believed that Derek German snitched, quote unquote. Was he a federal informant? She believed Derek snitched on Christy Lynn Martin, Keegan Callis, Tyler Joe French, and Jeff Reagan, who they said ran the meth junkies out there at the High Bridge, that it was their territory. Are you understanding what I'm saying to you? The rumor that the community has brought to me is that this was their territory. High Bridge, Ron Logan's Deer Creek was their territory. Tina also said Cheyenne and Cheryl were part of the group and may have witnessed the crime. Tina shared with Harvey that Josh Hewitt may have been with the group and he told Megan Allen, her daughter, who started the Flora fires. Tina's daughter's assault initiation happened in a gray barn near the bridge. Well, that's at the Mears property. Hello, the Mears property. Libby's dad ripped off Tina's sister, Christy Lynn Martin. There are rumors that these guys were out there at the bridge camping out the night before Abby and Libby were murdered. There were rumors that people were making meth out there. There's also a rumor that Megan and Keegan and these others went to the bridge that day, that's the 13th, and allegedly met with additional Kokomo crew people that had possible drug war motives against Derek German. The day before the killings, that's the 13th of February, or the 12th, two persons came over to visit Megan Allen. These people were Keegan Callis and Tyler Joe French. They picked up Megan Allen and took off to go to the woods by the bridge, supposedly to cook up methamphetamine. The notion that there were meth cookers in the woods that afternoon has led to all sorts of what I call the meth theory. Most involved these dealers and cookers, and apparently the three people above killing the two girls for all sorts of possible reasons, mostly that the girls happened upon the meth cooking operation. Now, this is Robert Lindsay's blog that I've captured this from. Robert Lindsay is not Eric Williams. Robert Lindsay is not the prof. Where did he get this info from? What did Eric Williams say? They stumbled into a meth lab and one of them went crazy and killed the girls. What did the prof say? They stumbled into a meth deal. Nonetheless, over the period of 2 to 12 a.m. and 2:15 p.m., these three were gone and were reportedly cooking meth at some point during this time frame at the High Bridge. All of these people were high out of their minds on meth and heroin for 3 days and spice, and used benzodiazepine that is known for pretty much erasing your memory. Megan Allen came home on February 15th, beaten up and confused, and complained that she had been beaten up and gang raped at some point in time over this period by, quote, the Sons of Odin. People thought this may have happened in the woods, maybe when the girls were being killed, but this gang rape probably occurred elsewhere, probably in someone's home. No, she later said it was in the Mears barn. At the same time, there is rumored to be a photo of a group of men on their knees with their pants down, kneeling around the body of a naked woman. For some time, people wondered if this was a photo of what was done to the girls. But now it appears that if this photo exists, it depicts the gang rape of Megan Allen. Megan Allen was reportedly a willing partner in this gang rape, as it was done as a gang initiation to initiate her into some gang. The gang appears to be an Aryan Brotherhood white supremacist organization. Are you guys putting this together yet? After the initiation, Megan became the property of the gang, and they could do whatever they wanted to with her. They could sell her, give her away to other people, force her to prostitute herself, all sorts of things. As a result of this gang grape, Megan was given to Keegan Callis by the gang. Do you realize she was sold? Do you guys know this part of the story? Do you know this part of the story? She was sold. In the aftermath of this 3-day ordeal, that's February 13th. No, I'm sorry, February 12th, 13th, and 14th. February 12th, 13th, and 14th. Megan Allen reportedly confessed in part to the murder of the girls. She stated that she, quote, wanted to know what it felt like to stab someone, so she stabbed someone, and that was Abby. It's reported that that was Abby. She did not know who she stabbed or when or where. It's reported that she stabbed Abby. Furthermore, all of their minds was as good as erased for the 3-day period due to the benzo ingestion. I'm not sure if her confession has been turned into the police or if they ever fucking investigated it. Now, remember, this is Robert Lindsay. He believes this was a false confession, the result of a beating, a gang rape, and 3 days of heavy drug use. But I don't. So he's discrediting or discounting this confession. He says she has no details. Yeah, but their details have subsequently surfaced, where the details are that she says she stabbed Abby in the side of the neck while looking at her in the eyes. All right. But Robert Lindsay didn't want to believe it. Okay. He didn't want to believe this story. But like I said, this was years ago. Subsequently, more information and details has leaked out about this. Now, he believed that she had been interviewed by FBI and Indiana State Police. Well, I know that that is false, because this whole story with the FBI got the earrings, that was false, okay? Julie Melvin had the earrings, okay? Because Tina had the earrings. Tina gave them to Julie. Julie gave them to the defense team. The defense team, I don't think, even had them DNA tested. So FBI didn't have the earrings. And I guarantee you, they didn't go talk to Megan Allen. Steve Mullen, when he went to talk to Megan Allen, she was too high to communicate. As far as Megan Allen goes, no, he says, we do not know what has come of this, but our information now is that Ellie does not believe the meth theory of the murders is a valid hypothesis. Of course they don't. Of course they don't. As far as Megan Allen goes, at some point she was sold to a man up in Wisconsin. Yes, check. She had to go up there and live with this man who had bought her for a month or so. Later, she was in rehab. Check. This woman makes a lot of dubious choices, has terrible friends, and have gotten herself into a heap of trouble. Now listen to this. Gabe Ellis is part of the Sons of Odin Brotherhood, along with Kyle Stacy, Brad Holder, and many other Kokomo crew associates. Let's read that one again. Gabe Ellis is part of the Sons of Odin Brotherhood, along with his buddy Kyle Stacy, Brad Holder, and many of the Kokomo crew associates. Remember, Sons of Odin is just a name. It doesn't have to be the specific name of this group. Gabe Ellis and Tyler Joe French were both drug dealers that were allegedly in the same drug ring as family members of both Libby and Abby. Yes, because both Anna and Derek were slinging and using. The drug human trafficking ring allegedly includes city police, Indiana State Police, judges, and business owners who help with the money laundering. They may have connections to the Mexican drug cartel. Are you guys getting this screenshot yet? One of the people mentioned was ex-judge Curtis Fouts. After a man named Jeremy Peterson was murdered, according to Michael, he had become an informant and was going to report intel about Gabe Ellis and his group. Because of this, he was stabbed to death by Alan Tinker for being a snitch. Gabe, Tyler, Derek, German, Tina Rodell all used to do meth. They had a meth lab for a few months prior to the killings. Not all of them, but a few. Gabe liked underage girls. And on February 15th, 2017, he was pulled over and had a minor girl in the car. True. It was a 2001 gray Grand Am with paper expired plates, Indiana G 908510. The same plate number was written down from the 2012 Dodge Dart that was supposedly at the abandoned CPS building. The plate was registered to Tyler French. Now watch this one. My daughter was there, and I'm in so much shit because cops told them where they got the info from, and my whole life is being torn apart because I was looking out for the death of 2 girls. She was out there with 3 guys cooking meth. Cops said, that's not matter, then why give my name? I'm so effed, afraid to take a child to the store because I'm worried I'm going to get shot. I know of some people who were cooking meth at Monon High Bridge on the 13th. I know some people who were cooking meth at the High Bridge on the 13th. Down here. Girl, you called me from the Monon High Bridge on the 13th, Megan, and this is the first time I've ever spoke your name through this shit. Have your 3 guy friends been cleared from Libby and Abby's deaths yet? Get mad all you want. I did what I thought was right. All right. And trust me, there's 20, 30 more of these screenshots. Why were they not investigated? And why is she changing her story now? This is the memorandum of law in support of admission of evidence of alternative theories of the crime and third party perpetrators. Now, I'm going to start here on page 4. In this case, the prosecution argues that Richard Allen, acting alone, killed Abigail Williams and Liberty German. However, the evidence from the location where the bodies were found strongly suggests that more than one person was responsible for these murders. Former Indiana State Police Detective Kevin Murphy testified, listen to this, that, quote, it was always the belief of law enforcement that there were between 2 to 6 people involved in the murders. Go back. Former Indiana State Police Detective Kevin Murphy testified that it was always the belief of law enforcement that there were between 2 to 6 people involved in the murders. Let me pull this down a minute. So, have you guys noticed or seen how the troll farm has been running around saying Todd Click never said that it was Deodanus? Kevin Murphy never said it was Deodanus. They all took that back. They all denied that. They never thought it was a sacrifice. They never thought it was a group of guys. Have you noticed them running around spreading that? I'm just waiting for you to respond in the chat. Because that's definitely what they do. They all go around and they say, even Todd Click and Kevin Murphy and Greg Ferenczi, they didn't believe that. That was just part of their investigation. But they eventually, they didn't believe that it was a group of guys or that it was a sacrifice or anything like that. That was just a conspiracy theory. Well, again, Kevin Murphy still is Indiana State Police, right? According to Kevin Murphy, he testified that it was always the belief of law enforcement that there were between 2 to 6 people involved in the murders. And you know what? I believe it's maybe even double that. Maybe it's between 4 and 12. Who knows? Good point, Amy. Yeah, why send the letter? Come on now. Let's be honest here. Troll Farm is not very bright. Okay. Oh, and guess what? Let me just take a little detour here. I know what they're up to right now, and I know you don't know what they're up to right now, but I got a report. Okay. Oh. I got a little report from some locals in Delphi who set their own eyes on several of the Troll Farm members on several occasions in the past 2 weeks. The Troll Farm is up to something. They're working on a project. Do you know that? So, ooh, they listen. They will not stop pushing this narrative because they have to keep their freedom. You see? You see, they're incentivized by their own freedom, which is a hell of an incentive. Yeah, Rebecca. Yeah. They're up to no good right now. They think they're doing a big, sneaky, behind the scenes project that's going to make waves. That's what they're doing. All right. So, if the prosecution's argument is that Richard Allen acted alone, and there are alternative theories that the murders were committed by more than one person, at a minimum 2 to 6 people, as ISP detective Kevin Murphy claims, then there are who are the additional people who were involved in killing Abigail Williams and Liberty German? The answer is that there are third-party suspects who have not been charged or investigated, I would say, and who have no ties to Richard Allen that I know of. This leads to the conclusion that Richard Allen is innocent and that other individuals acting together, that's important. These documents are very important. Other individuals acting together killed Abigail Williams and Liberty German. And we're going to be getting into that because the question here is why, let me pull this down again. The question here is why has law enforcement failed to investigate, to deeply, thoroughly, and honestly investigate those who would have placed themselves into this crime? Now, we've already covered Megan Allen and that group of guys, the Kokomo crew. Who else have they failed to investigate? Dr. Dawn Perlmutter testified that the murders of Abigail Williams and Liberty German meet all the elements of a ritualistic killing and was textbook. The elements of a ritualistic killing include the location of the crime. These murders took place outdoors in a clearing in a wooded area near a body of water. Dr. Perlmutter testified that in Odinism and Asatru, clearings can be the location of a sacred circle. Or in any occult philosophy. This could be in ideology. This could be Wiccan. This could be witchy poo, fucking witch shit, black magic. Date of death. Dr. Perlmutter testified that often rituals and sacrifices take place on important days, especially on sacrificial days. She testified that Valisblot is a sacrificial feast day honoring Odin's son, Valis. This begins, listen to this. I really need you to listen to this. This begins at sundown on February 13th and ends at sunup on February 14th. Let me ask you this. When was Megan Allen participating in this ritual, initiation into an Odin group in the woods at the High Bridge? Oh, that's right. After sundown. Libby and Abby disappeared on February 13th, 2017, and were found at sunup on February 14th. Cause of death. Dr. Perlmutter testified that ritualistic crimes are most often committed by sharp force injury to the neck, and that slitting the throat is indicative of sacrifice and an initiation ritual. Initiation ritual. Hello, what did Megan Allen say again? Initiation ritual, and she stabbed in the neck, sharp force injury to the neck, slitting the throat. Murder weapon. Dr. Perlmutter testified that ritualistic crimes are often committed with ceremonial knives. The weapon used to kill the girls was a knife. And where is that knife? Hey, is that knife being secretly held by someone as a sacred object to this very day? Is that why it's not been found? Symbols at the crime scene. Dr. Perlmutter testified that in ritualistic killings, symbols, including runes, are often left at the scene. In this instance, there is what can be interpreted as a Laguz rune painted and transferred to a tree with Liberty German's blood. The tree is located near the area where the girls' bodies were found, on the edge of the clearing. Additionally, Dr. Perlmutter testified that the sticks and branches laid on the bodies appeared deliberately and intentionally placed in particular arrangements which would have meaning to the individuals committing the crime. And remember, Dr. Jeffrey Turco made the statement that there's a good reason to believe that whoever put those sticks on the bodies, it was an attempt to replicate Germanic runic script, and that it was someone's idea that when you do a sacrifice, you put runes. FBI Special Agent Nicole Robertson testified that when she was searching the home of Ron Logan, she was looking for evidence of runes and anything Nordic due to the placement of the sticks on the girls' bodies. That's from the Nicole Robertson deposition, page 75. Furthermore, the emails between the FBI and State Police Superintendent Dougie Carter all provide evidence of the belief by law enforcement that the evidence left behind at the crime scene, including the sticks found on the girls and over the pool of blood, supported the possibility that the killers were Norse paganists, or that the setup was on the Norse paganists. Body disposition. Dr. Perlmutter testified that in ritualistic killings, bodies are often moved and positioned in a fashion that is not a counter-forensic measure. In other words, the bodies are moved and positioned in a manner not consistent with someone who is trying to conceal bodies, which is what the Jerry Holman said, right? He told you the lies. Remember, even Mr. Cicero admitted that at most 3 to 4% of the girls' bodies were covered with those sticks. Let's be real here. That was not an attempt to hide bodies. Those sticks were deliberately placed in an attempt to replicate Germanic runic script. They were formed as bind runes that would have had a meaning to the person who placed them. And it's very easy to see that there are definitive right angles on both girls and over the pool of blood and in the upside down L on the tree. She further testified that the bodies were often positioned to include the arrangement of natural objects, and we know that from the placement of those girls' bodies and the positioning that they were positioned to replicate tarot figurations. Libby being positioned like the magician, and Abby positioned like the hanging man. Major Cicero of the LaPorte County Sheriff's Department also testified that Libby's body was drug around the crime scene and that Abigail Williams was moved from side to side. Yes, as they placed the phone under her. Major Cicero testified that the sticks and branches maybe covered 3% of the girls' bodies. He further testified that there were many leaves and sticks all around in the areas that could have been used to conceal the bodies if that was the intent of the killers. This is the state's own witness. Hello? So all the trolls and all the bootlickers who are out there telling you, and all the Jerry Holmans who are telling you that the attempt was to cover up and conceal the body, well, their own witness, Major Patrick Cicero, is telling you, no, there were sticks and leaves all over the place. Again, who's telling the truth, Cicero or Holman? Atypical blood pattern. Finally, Ms. Perlmutter testified that there's often atypical blood patterns identified in ritualistic killings. She identified the blood pattern on Liberty German's face as an atypical blood pattern. This was also identified as atypical by Major Pat Cicero. All right. In this case, members of Unified Command failed to follow up on leads and investigations of Assistant Police Chief Todd Click and Indiana State Police Detective Kevin Murphy, such as a failure to perform an extraction of Brad Holder's phone, failure to investigate the alibi of Patrick Westfall, failure to investigate the alibi of Elvis Fields, and the failure to seek search warrants to search the homes of these individuals. Unfortunately, Unified Command did not consider any fact that did not fall into their timeline. You see, like I said so many times, what they did, they ignored everything that did not fit onto Richard Allen when they tried to reverse engineer this onto Richard Allen. Remember, they ignored Daniel Pearson. They ignored Cheyenne's vehicle being there at a different time, different place. They ignored all the witnesses who said they saw other people and all the witnesses who said they saw other vehicles. They conflated all the descriptions. They twisted the witness statements. They disregarded the sketches. There are other sketches that were disregarded. They disregarded Richard Allen's statement that he was there earlier, and they made this alleged tip by Dan Doolin, where there's no documentation, no recording, no evidence. They had to use that to put him there. Right now. Furthermore, Liberty's phone suddenly connected to the tower at 4:33 a.m. That's near sunrise on February 14th. After not connecting to the tower from 5:44 p.m. the day before. There's no evidence that Richard Allen went to the crime scene between 5:44 p.m. and 4:33 a.m. on the 14th. Something happened to that phone. So who can explain that? We've subsequently learned that the headphone jack was activated on the phone at 5:49 p.m. at 5:44 p.m. And then again at 10:32 p.m. on the 13th. Who activated the headphone jack? Again, 2 to 6 people, according to Kevin Murphy. Now, Brad Holder is the father of the boy who was having the hanky-panky with Abby Williams. Okay, remember this. Remember, there are traces of seminal fluid in both girls. Okay, let's not kid ourselves here. Remember, there were nudes being sent, which is probably why they were targeted in some way. Logan Holder was the boyfriend, quote unquote, of Abby Williams at the time of the murders. Brad Holder is the father of that boy. Law enforcement received several tips that Brad Holder was the man in the video on the cell phone, and that he was involved in the murders. In his first interview with law enforcement, Brad Holder told officers he had never met Abigail Williams. Now, you listen closely. In his second interview, he claimed that he had difficulty remembering which girl Logan dated. But he now remembered that he had supervised one date with Abby Williams and Logan Holder. Well, then, in 2024, he told a third different story about how many times he met Abby Williams. When he was deposed, page 19 of his deposition, he claims he had met Abigail Williams twice, including once at Patrick Westfall's house, which means Patrick Westfall had met Abigail Williams. Patrick Westfall never admitted to the police that Abby Williams had been to his house. Now, you see, there's more, though. Brad believes in runes and magical properties and sacrifices and Asatru. He believes in the power of magic and blood as it relates to magic. Blood magic, death magic. This is a death cult. This is evidenced by his Facebook post as well as Amber Holder's testimony that Brad Holder intentionally cut his hand and allowed blood to drip on the Odin altar. Also, that he took her hand and cut her hand and allowed blood to drip onto the Odin altar. Patrick Cicero testified that the marking on the tree was transferred to the tree with Liberty German's blood. Plus, there was a stick formation, a bind rune, on top of the pool of Liberty German's blood. Dr. Perlmutter testified that runes charged by blood carry additional importance and magical powers, and that blood is the highest offering to the gods. Brad testified that one of the times he met Abby Williams took place in the home of third-party suspect Patrick Westfall. Amber Holder testified that Brad told her that Patrick Westfall and his crew murdered Abigail Williams. Let's start that over. Right here. It's right here. First full paragraph. Amber Holder, Brad's ex-wife, testified that he told her that Patrick Westfall and his crew murdered Abigail Williams and Liberty German. Richard Allen had a Sixth and 14th Amendment right to present these facts to the jury. Okay. Brad Holder's alibi is in question because of 4:33 a.m. phone activity. Detective Jerry Holman testified that Brad Holder had an alibi as he left work at 2:45 p.m. on February 13th and was 40 minutes away from the High Bridge. Christopher Cecil, testified that Abby's phone did not receive any messages from 4:06 p.m. until 4:33 a.m. on the 14th of February 2017, suggesting that Libby's phone was not connected to a cell tower at the time. Cutting against that theory is the fact that a police report references Sergeant Mitch Blotcher's belief that the phone was either no longer in working condition or that it was out of the area. We know from Chris Cecil that the phone was in working order because it connected to the cell tower at 4:33 a.m. on February 14th. So where was the phone? Dr. Perlmutter testified that individuals adhering to white nationalist versions of Odinism or Asatru would kill others because of the belief that someone was a race traitor. Furthermore, Amber Holder testified that Brad Holder told her that Westfall wanted to move on from animal sacrifice to human sacrifice, and that this was the source of a falling out between Holder and Westfall. Remember, there was a falling out over something that happened in the woods near a river involving blood near Patrick Westfall's house, which is near the High Bridge. Patrick Westfall claims he was at home near the High Bridge on February 13th with his son. That's his alibi. There's no proof of Westfall's whereabouts on February 13th other than his statement. To date, law enforcement has provided no concrete evidence of Westfall's whereabouts on February 13th. Brad Holder and Patrick Westfall knew each other from an army deployment in Afghanistan. It's also rumored that they were treated in the same recovery hospital in Kentucky after deployment. Brad Holder and Patrick Westfall practiced Asatru. They were members of a small kindred, which is a small group of people believing in Asatru. They gathered, held meetings, and worshipped their gods. Patrick Westfall is a holy man of Asatru and hosted meetings at his home in Delphi on Sundays. Brad Holder attended these meetings in Delphi at Patrick Westfall's home near the High Bridge on Sundays. Holder and Westfall attended a ritual videotaped by Holder. Near the end of the video, Patrick Westfall appears to be marking a tree with his hand. Major Patrick Cicero testified that the tree at the crime scene was marked with Liberty's blood. Patrick Westfall told police he had sacrificed a chicken by cutting his head off. Perlmutter testified sacrifices almost always were carried out by slitting the throat of an animal or person being sacrificed. And furthermore, that practitioners of these religions often begin with animal sacrifices. As mentioned earlier, Amber Holder testified that Brad Holder said that Patrick Westfall wanted to elevate from animal sacrifice to human sacrifice. Furthermore, Patrick Westfall acknowledges that Asatru worship takes place in a clearing in the forest. Westfall, August 17th, 2023 interview. This is consistent with Perlmutter's testimony that rituals often take place in open spaces in the forest. Now, this all creates an inference that Patrick Westfall was involved in the murders of Abigail Williams and Liberty German, and that they were sacrificed in an Asatru Norse pagan ritual. Elvis Fields. Elvis Fields is a Rushville resident, a suspect in the case who was investigated by law enforcement. Kevin Murphy testified that Brad Holder can be linked to Elvis Fields through Facebook post and vice versa. Todd Click testified that Elvis Fields was a suspect or accomplice in the murders, and he was interviewed several times by law enforcement. After one such interview, in which law enforcement collected a buccal swab from Elvis Fields, Detective Kevin Murphy drove Elvis Fields home. Detective Murphy testified that after Fields got out of his car, he returned and asked Detective Murphy if his spit was found on one of the girls, but he could explain it away. Would he still be in trouble? Elvis Fields lived in Rushville. He testified that he was home in Rushville on February 13th, 2017. He denied ever being in Delphi. If he spits on one of the girls, this places him in Delphi. Elvis's statement is admissible pursuant to IRE 803.3. Elvis Field's statement is clearly indicative of a guilty state of mind and indicates he has a mental feeling of anxiousness over his conduct and the possible ramifications. Additionally, Elvis denied making this statement to Detective Murphy. That's in his deposition. It's expected that Elvis will continue to deny. Okay. Rod Abrams is a friend of Elvis Field's. In his statement to police, he testified that at the time of the murders, Ned Smith drove a white pickup truck, and that also sometimes Elvis Fields drove a white pickup truck. Tina Garrison saw a white pickup truck parked at the old CPS building near the High Bridge. At approximately 4:20 p.m. on the day of the murders. Question for you. Is that approximately the time that this phone has a headphone jack activated? Both Elvis Fields and his friend Ned Smith drove white pickup trucks. This potentially places them in Delphi near the scene of the murders at the time of the murders on February 13th, 2017. Furthermore, Kevin Murphy also testified that in an analysis of Elvis's cell phone records, it was established that he often used his phone throughout the day on a typical day. Strikingly, however, Detective Murphy testified that on February 13th, 2017, for some reason, Elvis did not use his phone at all between roughly 10:30 a.m. and 7:30 p.m., as if it was left at home while he went elsewhere. Okay? All of this above is very well documented in Todd Click and Detective Kevin Murphy's reports. All was failed to be followed up and thoroughly investigated by Unified Command in the Delphi murders, quote unquote, investigation, close quotation. Finally, the fact that Elvis's friends, Rod Abrams and Ned Smith, could not keep their fucking story straight concerning their whereabouts with Elvis on February 13th is also important. You can check into that on your own free time. Johnny Messer is a former Rushville resident and also was a suspect in this case who connects the Logansport and Delphi crew, Brad Holder and Patrick Westfall, to the Rushville crew of Elvis Fields, Rod Abrams, and Ned Smith. Johnny Messer. There are pictures on social media of Brad Holder, Patrick Westfall, and Johnny Messer together at an Odinist gathering. Kevin Murphy and Todd Click testified as to the connection between Brad Holder, Patrick Westfall, and Johnny Messer. Detective Murphy and Click testified that Holder, Westfall, and Messer were all associated with the Vinlander Social Club, a club for white guys. Let's be honest here. As explained by Patrick Westfall, Johnny Messer was a probate with the Vinlanders. The Vinlanders were engaged in Nazatru-based practices. Johnny Messer confirmed that most members of the Vinlanders were into Odinism. Okay? You understand that? That's the Johnny Messer deposition. Patrick Westfall and Johnny Messer traveled to Minnesota together for a Vinlander event. Johnny Messer's uncle, Billy Messer, was previously where Elvis Fields lived. Johnny Messer was a recruiter for the Vinlanders. According to Todd Click, Messer denied recruiting members for the Vinlanders. However, Click testified that he had interviewed multiple men who admitted that Messer had recruited them to join the Vinlanders. Messer's denial of being a recruiter for the Vinlanders juxtaposed against Click's investigation, revealing that Messer was in fact a recruiter, and trying to recruit into the Vinlanders would indicate that Messer felt like he had something to hide. Messer knew both Holder and Fields, although Fields denied knowing Messer. The fact that Johnny Messer's former girlfriend, Taylor Hornady, told Kevin Murphy that around Valentine's Day 2017, that's February 14th, 2017, that Messer was up there in Delphi visiting his Vinlander friends, that's Patrick Westphal, Brad Holder, near the High Bridge, and that a red substance she believed to be blood was found on the car he had used to drive up there. This provides additional connectivity between all these parties and the murders. Now, we're going to take a little detour for a moment and come back to this. We're going to go on to the Franks memorandum because we have something very important to take a look at. All right, so listen. We're going to go up to page 15, first of all. Elvis Fields confessed to his sister that he was involved in the murders of Abigail Williams and Liberty German, providing his sister intimate crime scene details of which those present at the crime scene would have been familiar with. Additionally, Elvis told his sister, Mary, on February 14th, 2017, that he was present at the killings of Abby and Libby and that he now had a brother and was now part of a gang. Isn't that an initiation? Elvis also admitted to a different sister, Joyce, that he had in fact spit on one of the girls, not on the ground, not scooped it up like Jerry Holman said and was afraid someone would scoop it up and throw it on the girls. No, he admitted to his sister Joyce that he had spit on one of the girls. He told Joyce that he was on a trail and a bridge with two girls that were killed and that he was going away for a long time. And remember, he told Mary that he now had a brother and was now part of a gang, and he participated and was present at the killings of Abby and Libby. I hope you understand what I am trying to present to you. Furthermore, Elvis's sister passed a polygraph examination when asked if she were telling the truth about what Elvis had confessed to her. Okay, now we're going to jump to page 71. Elvis admitted to both of his sisters that he was involved in the murders. He told a sister that he was part of a gang and had a brother. He provided DNA and then asked police if he could explain why his spit might be on one of the girls. Would he be in trouble? Then he admitted to another sister that he did indeed, in fact, spit on one of the girls. And he provided intimate details of the crime scene. Okay? Elvis had confessed to his sister, and we're going to try to read. Whoops. This is 73. He confessed to both of his sisters on two different occasions that he was involved in the murders. This confession including telling one sister that Abby Williams was a troublemaker, and that's why he used sticks to form horns on Abby's head. He admitted to another sister that he was in big trouble and going away for a while because he was present when the girls were murdered and he spit on the girls. On October 24th, 2017, Elvis told his sister, Joyce Moffett, that, quote, I am in trouble. I am going away for a long time. I was on that trail and that bridge with those girls when they were murdered. There were two other people there with me when it happened. I spit on one of the girls after they were killed. This is from Supplement 542, Joyce Moffett interview, attached to the Franks Memorandum, marked as Exhibit 44. What are the odds that Brad Holder's son is dating Abby Williams and Elvis Fields is mimicking Brad's Facebook post and he's admitting to being involved in the murders of these girls? Well, for Liggett and Holman, apparently this coincidence was nothing important. Now, we're going to move on to page 91 for those of you who actually are following along. On page 1 of the Odin report, Mary Jacobs told law enforcement that on February 14th, 2017, pay attention to that, February 14th, 2017, same day the girls' bodies were found, Elvis was rambling, hyper, and borderline incoherent. He was talking about having a brother, even though he had no male siblings. He was now part of a gang. Elvis told Mary that he had been on a bridge with two girls that were killed. Elvis told her that someone named Abigail was a pain in the ass and a troublemaker. She said Elvis tried to give her a blue jacket. This is the day the girls' bodies were found, y'all. After Elvis made these statements to Mary Jacobs, she became aware of the Delphi murders and put the two and two together. Sometime 2 to 3 weeks after Elvis made these statements, which means after the bodies were found, Mary Jacobs and her husband Troy drove to Delphi. While in Delphi, Mary Jacobs talked to law enforcement about the things Elvis had told her on February 14th, 2017. But due to the mass amount of tips that were generated, her information may have been overlooked. Yeah, or deleted, right? Is that part of the first group of deleted shits? The defense has requested that the prosecutor locate the tip sheet that contains the accurate details as to exactly when Mary Jacobs and her husband Troy visited law enforcement in Delphi and what was communicated during that visit. Unfortunately, this is yet another piece of evidence that the defense has not received. In December 2018, Mary Jacobs enlisted the help of an old acquaintance of hers named Misty Moore. Since law enforcement had not followed up with Mary from earlier in the year when she drove to Delphi with her husband and described what Elvis had told her, Mary was still concerned that Elvis was involved in the murders. Remember, this is his sister. But nothing was being done about it. Misty Moore worked for Homeland Security out of Greenfield, and Mary was hoping that Misty could assist in locating someone from law enforcement to become interested in Elvis Fields, her own brother. Mary talked to Misty Moore, who then passed the information to the proper law enforcement channels. In January 2018, Mary was interviewed. On February 1st, 2018, state police gave Mary Jacobs a polygraph to determine whether Mary was being truthful about what Elvis had told her almost a year earlier. Mary passed the polygraph. More on that later. Based upon what Mary Jacobs had told law enforcement, and based upon Mary Jacobs passing a polygraph, law enforcement interviewed Elvis on February 27, 2018. The interview was videotaped. Jerry Holman from Unified Command conducted this interview of Elvis. Kevin Murphy was also present. During this interview, Elvis agreed to take a mouth swab. Jerry Holman and Kevin Murphy, both with state police, explained the purpose of the swab to Elvis. So he was aware that DNA from his mouth swab would be compared. And this is where he asked Kevin Murphy on the ride home, when he gets home, if he's going to be in trouble. And again, Stephanie Thompson was subsequently, we believe, murdered. Was it to silence her for knowledge of this? On August 22nd, 2018, Elvis's other sister, Joyce Moffett, was interviewed by law enforcement officers Kevin Murphy and Greg Ferenczi, who was also murdered. On 2 previous occasions, Joyce had denied that Elvis had made incriminating statements to her. See, she was trying to protect her brother. However, in this 3rd interview, Joyce reluctantly recounted to Greg Ferenczi and Kevin Murphy statements that Elvis had made to her in the fall of 2017. According to Joyce Moffett, sometime in the fall of 2017, Elvis moved in with her following the death of her boyfriend. Joyce recounted the following statements Elvis made to her in the kitchen in October of 2017. At a time they were living under the same roof. I am in a lot of trouble. I'm going away for a long time. I was on the trail and that bridge with those girls when they were murdered. There were 2 other people there with me when it happened. I spit on one of the girls after they were killed. Not only did Elvis make the incriminating statement about going away for a long time and being on a trail where 2 girls were murdered and on the bridge, but Elvis also confirmed to Joyce that he had indeed spit on one of the girls. Elvis lied, claiming he did not know Johnny Messer. Okay? But Johnny Messer said not only did he know Elvis, but that Elvis was interested in joining his and Brad's Vinlanders crew. In his June 2018 interview, Elvis unequivocally denied knowing Johnny Messer. However, in his October 2018 interview, Johnny Messer tells a different story. Johnny states that Elvis lived with his uncle, Billy Messer. He further stated that he would take firewood to his uncle's home during the winter, that Elvis was living with Billy. Most importantly, that Elvis's boss, Ned Smith, and Elvis's roommate, Rod Abrams, were all interested in joining Johnny Messer's Vinlanders Club. Brad Holder was also affiliated with that club. However, Johnny Messer claims that the Vinlanders would not be interested in the likes of Elvis, Rod Abrams, and Ned Smith. Okay. Let's go back to this one now. I think you get the idea about Elvis Fields. Now remember, I've also shown you that Elvis Fields would deliver pigs with John or Johnny Chrisman. Chrisman was a high up white supremacist grand dragon of the KKK in several states surrounding Indiana. And I thought Wow. Or is it Josh Christman? I thought, what are the odds that he's delivering pigs? Is it possible that that's where the rumor of a pig roast or pig delivery in the storyline comes into play? Because that does come into play. Keegan Kline and Tony Kline. Don't worry if this is boring. Enjoy the chat. This is for the new folks. Keegan Kline is the son of Tony Kline. He was 22 years old in February 2017. He and Tony resided in Peru. Detective David Vito testified that Keegan Kline was communicating with Liberty German and Abigail Williams using a fake Snapchat account and other accounts under the name of Anthony_Shots in the days leading up to and on February 13th, 2017. The content of these messages is unknown because they fucking deleted it all. They allowed Keegan to delete it all. They went in there and deleted other shit. And who knows what Kelsey deleted from the girls' accounts. David Vito testified that Keegan Kline admitted to driving to Delphi, Indiana with his father, Tony Kline, on February 13th, 2017. And that he, Keegan Kline, waited in the vehicle while Jerry Anthony, Tony Kline, went into the woods in the area where Abigail Williams and Liberty German's bodies were ultimately found. Detective Vito testified that Keegan Kline stated that when Tony Kline returned to the vehicle, he had blood on him. Roland Purdy further testified that Keegan Kline admitted that they discarded a knife in a river when they were driving home. All of this evidence creates an inference that Keegan Kline and Jerry Anthony Tony Kline might have participated in the murders of Abigail Williams and Liberty German. Ron Logan. The bodies of Abigail Williams and Liberty German were located on February 14th, 2017 on the property of Ron Logan in his backyard. Ron Logan lied to law enforcement about his whereabouts on February 13, 2017. Furthermore, as you guys have been privy to lately, there's been much ado about Reese Davis. You may have noticed that there's James Haas, who came forward with allegations of statements of Ron Logan alluding to some sort of involvement in the Delphi murders of Abigail Williams and Liberty German. And now we have Reese Davis. Well, not only does Reese Davis come forward with allegations about the statements of Ron Logan implicating him in the murders of Abigail Williams and Liberty German, but Reese Davis also was in contact with Keegan Kline and in conversations with Keegan Kline. And he alleges that in conversations with Keegan Kline, that Keegan Kline admits to the same scenario, some involvement in the Delphi murders in coordination with Ron Logan and Tony Kline, or maybe some other parties. Reese Davis was so bothered by these statements of Ron Logan and Keegan Kline and became so convinced of the validity or some substance to them, and also so concerned about the apparent railroading of Richard Allen, that he wrote 7 to 8 letters to Nicholas McClellan trying to give information from Ron Logan and Keegan Kline, express his concerns and tip in. He furthermore had his uncle reach out independently to the court to ensure that these letters were going in and being received. He also did a videotaped interview with law enforcement. So what are you saying, Prof? Well, I'm saying, think about this now. I want you to take a tally of this now. Let's go all the way back. Megan Allen, what I showed you an hour ago. We had Megan Allen, Tina Rodell naming all of these guys, which we call the Kokomo crew. And keep in mind that although you didn't see it in those receipts do exist that I have, that also put a guy named Garrett into this mix. That Garrett was one of the ones in the car. So you have this handful of guys that are supposed to be out there with Megan Allen performing an initiation in which she stabs someone to see what it would feel like. That's a group. You've got another group, which is the Vinlanders. Elvis Fields. He's being initiated. He's describing an initiation. He has a brother now. He's part of a group. He's initiated. He was there with two other guys on a bridge with those girls when they were killed. And Abby was a troublemaker. Well, that looks like two groups. That looks like two handfuls, like Kokomo guys and Vinlanders come together. And then you got a third group. You've got Keegan Kline, Tony Kline, Ron Logan, who knows who else. So what are all these guys doing? But let's flip it around. And let's ask this. Why was not one of this group ever seriously investigated by law enforcement? Are you telling me that the things that Elvis said were not concerning enough to be seriously investigated by Unified Command? Are you telling me that the things that Tina Rodell, Megan Allen, and the Kokomo crew were alleged to be involved in at the same place and time were not concerning enough to be seriously investigated by Unified Command? Are you telling me that the others Patrick Westfall, Brad Holder, Johnny Messer, Rod Abrams, Ned Smith, I don't know, Josh Chrisman, none of these guys warranted a serious investigation by Unified Command? So what was Tony Liggett, Jerry Holman, Jay Harper, David Vito, Doug Carter, what were they doing all these years? And what happened, Doug Carter, with these 80 people you were going to have to hire to go back through every single thing once you got the guy, right? You got the guy, right? You got the guy. So once you got the guy, you were going to have to hire 70 or 80 people to go back through every single thing, right? That's the whole fucking blah, 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 blah. You ran your fucking mouth, man. You talk shit, Doug Carter. You talked shit. You gaslit the entire public for all these years. And you know what? People bought it. I even bought it at one point. You were just running your fucking mouth. A picture, not a photograph. Just sketch is not a photograph. Not a sketch is not a photograph. Not a sketch. No sketch. Put them between, taken apart. One is not the other. No longer a person of interest. Been cleared. The family is not cleared. The vast majority, small minority. Blah 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 blah. Judge signed the warrant. Blah 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 blah. Bullshit. 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 Remember, ISP said that old guy sketch is no longer a person of interest. They're two separate people. Don't worry about it. Kelsey said some new technology had been used to produce that sketch. Well, but now they say, no, it's Betsy Blair, you know. And then the old guy sketch is supposed to be, first it was Daniel Pearson that produced it. Then it was a composite, a bunch of witnesses put together, gets the face of the guy on the bridge. And then it's irrelevant. The guy's cleared and he's no longer a person of interest. Focus on the young guy. Then it's both of them again. And it's not between, and it's a person underneath the two. And come on, man. What were all of you doing? Unified Command. You didn't investigate Keegan Klein, Tony Klein, Ron Logan, Brad Holder, Patrick Westfall, Johnny Messer, Josh Chrisman, Elvis Fields, Rod Abrams, Ned Smith, Keegan Allen, Gabe Ellis, fucking, I can't even keep the names up, man. And this is why people feel free to murder in your state. Like I said, when in Rome. And now we have another victim. How many more have to die? How many more children have to die in your state because you allow killers to walk free? You don't investigate them. But you wanted to get another notch in that belt before you retired. And now Steve Mullen gets promoted, and Jerry Holman gets promoted, and Judge Gall gets promoted, and Nix McClellan's get promoted, and Shane Evans get promoted, and fucking Mike Patty gets fucking promoted, and fucking Becky Patty gets promoted. Everybody get a fucking promotion. Millions of dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars. Everybody's Gucci. While the innocent get killed. When in Rome, do as the Romans do. That means you just kill kids. And you'll have 5,000 bikers show up. Are these the same bikers that are trafficking the meth and humans? You see, you achieved a conviction of Richard Allen with no evidence by railroading him. You didn't allow a defense whatsoever. Of course, if you don't allow someone any defense whatsoever, of course you're going to get a conviction. You fabricated evidence. Remember, these enhanced images of Bridge Guy, this enhanced video of Bridge Guy, that's fabrications. That's fabricated evidence. You allowed witnesses to lie on the stand. That's fabricated evidence. That's false evidence. You coerced confessions out of him in an attempt to to get a plea deal out of him with threats and intimidation and drugging him. All that happened in Westville by a just coincidentally Odinist, yeah, uh, John Gallipo, and the guards. He was constantly being threatened with death. He was constantly being called a kid killer, a child murderer. They were making noise. They were fucking with his food. They were drugging him. They were threatening to kill his wife, his fucking daughter, threatening to kill him. The whole time you're forcibly medicating him. You have a fucking Delphi fan girl doing intel, talking to all the people in the whole community and going right back to him with it, and then extracting confessions out of him. And that was what was necessary. And how can you live with yourself? Becky Patty, how can you live with yourself? Are you convinced that that was justice for your girls? Anna Williams, are you convinced that that was justice for your girl? You know better. You know better. There's no way on earth that you were convinced that that guy killed your girls. But hey, you don't want convincing because you know it didn't happen. See, you've controlled the troll farm for years. You controlled all of the YouTube channels, you controlled all of the news articles, you controlled all of the Reddits, every single Facebook group. That's why it's intolerable out there. Because you've controlled everything from day one. You controlled this conversation. I don't think you can control it much longer. Which is why you are all desperately trying to bury this right now. But we can't let it happen. I mean, children are dying. And as long as you allow these criminals to run amok in Indiana, children are going to keep dying. Because when in Rome, they'll do as you do. I mean, look, what are the odds that Megan Allen is there for an initiation into a Odin-related gang? What are the odds that Elvis Fields is there for an initiation into a Odin-related gang? And what are the odds that Ned Smith and Rod Abrams, they're all being recruited into this gang? What are the odds that they all do this thing that uses elements of Norse paganism, that all those signs are there at the crime scene, including the place and time? Remember, Delphi holds a sacred place in mythology. So does this area. What do you know why they're called the Vinlanders? Hey, America is sacred ground, isn't it? Just a moment. How many more dead girls by railroad tracks? While the meth runs through the veins of your counties like blood, listen, bottom line, this was a meth related murder suicide. I'm sorry, murder sacrifice. Murder sacrifice. It's just like Labredo said. One girl was killed, one girl was sacrificed. It was a murder, a killing. A dead girl, a sacrificed girl. Everyone acted out their parts as part of an agreed cover up after the fact. And the meth keeps flowing, and the blood keeps flowing. Look, you allowed Keegan Klein to stay out of jail for how many years? When you knew the accounts he was tied to had lured the girls out to their very deaths. Something stinks in Indiana. I'm going to read something for you and let this serve as a warning to you. Because we are calling for an investigation into you. We are calling for a RICO, a federal investigation. From Friday, February 21st, Phoenix, Arizona. A multi-agency enforcement effort dubbed Operation Double Down has wrapped up and proven successful in combating the drug trafficking epidemic of fentanyl and other illegal substances, which have resulted in the thousands of deaths in our community. The Attorney General's office has been working hand in hand with local, state, and federal agencies in attacking the flow of illegal substances entering the state and later distributed throughout the country. During these efforts, investigators from all levels uncovered a transnational criminal organization that operated in the United States and Mexico with the goal of selling and distributing millions of dollars in illegal drugs. As part of this illegal enterprise, the organization laundered money to avoid detection and continued to distribute illicit drugs. Operation Double Down is a powerful example of what can be accomplished when law enforcement agencies at every level work together to combat the deadly flow of fentanyl and other illicit drugs into our communities. I want to thank the dedicated agents and prosecutors of the Arizona Attorney General's office for their hard work on this operation, says Attorney General Chris Mays. I also want to thank our federal and local law enforcement partners for their collaboration. My office will continue to aggressively pursue and prosecute drug traffickers who threaten the safety of Arizonans. Operation Double Down was a 7-month multi-agency investigation designed to gather intelligence. It was a sting operation, ladies and gentlemen, and interdict individuals transporting illegal drugs throughout the region. The cases were later handed off to state prosecutors who worked closely with the Phoenix Police Department and the Drug Enforcement Bureau investigators to hold those individuals identified accountable for their involvement. After the operation, the Arizona Attorney General's office was able to secure arrest warrants for 25 individuals identified in this operation. Investigators also seized the following during Operation Double Down: 1,700,000 fentanyl pills, 26 kilograms of fentanyl powder, 24 kilos of coke, 370 plus pounds of methamphetamine, 13 pounds of heroin, nearly $210,000 in cash, 14 vehicles, and 28 firearms. That's a huge victory in the prof's eyes. Oh my God. Oh my God. Just imagine 1.7 million pills, 26 kilos of fentanyl. Oof. Do you know how many lives that's going to save? 370 pounds of meth. The operation began in April of 2024 and continued through November. However, the processing of indictments and arrests remains active. The operation was a huge success and was the direct result of the coordinated planning and execution by all of those involved. This operation has set a new standard in what can be achieved when law enforcement agencies and the prosecutors who handle these cases combine resources and partner to accomplish the goal of serving the community. Below are written statements from those partners involved in this operation. Quote, "The outcome of this operation is impressive and a testament to the partnerships between local and federal police agencies and the prosecutors in this community. We are stronger when we work together, and our community is safer as a result," said Phoenix PD Interim Chief Michael Sullivan. The DEA Phoenix Special Agent in charge, Cherie Oz, says, "DEA stands alongside our partners as a united front, and we are not stopping. The amount of deadly narcotics and firearms seized in this investigation saved lives. We are law enforcement strong, working together like never before." Arizona HIDTA Director Don Mertz said, "The goal of our narcotics task forces is to identify, disrupt, and dismantle drug trafficking organizations using an intelligence-driven investigation with close communication with prosecutors. This task force, led by the Phoenix Police Department in partnership with the Drug Enforcement Administration, DEA, completed this mission with the support of the Arizona High Intensity Drug Trafficking Area, HIDTA. The results of this operation highlight the success these partnerships bring. The Attorney General's Office of Arizona would like to thank extend thanks to those partnerships that made the collective results of Operation Double Down." And so, let that serve as a warning to you, Indiana. You see, it has to be stopped, and it will be stopped. How many more lives need to be lost so that you can maintain the status quo? Enough is enough, and congratulations to Arizona and Arizona Attorney General. Very proud of that work. It's very good news. And what can I say? Kudos. All right, so needless to say, we're not happy with the way things have gone with this, with the continued efforts of the families and law enforcement to bury this case. It can't be allowed to happen, because when you let these killers go free, you're sending a signal to all the other would-be killers out there. That they can do it, get away with it, and walk free. Anyhow, that's my contribution, because we're not going to allow when in Rome. No, it's enough. It's enough. There's going to be a changing of the guard. And so, with that being said, I'd like to thank all of you for being here tonight. Those of you who happen to be watching the replay, please do leave some comments down below. We always love the comments. I hope that you gained some sort of value out of watching tonight, or whenever it may be that you watch this. Remember, I'm questioning, why is it that you can have this very large group of people seemingly interject themselves or place themselves or confess to this crime, put themselves, implicate themselves in some sort of involvement in this crime, and you not even attempt to investigate them? Listen, we're not fools out here. No one's stupid. We all know you did not investigate these people. You may have done some preliminary, cursory looking at these people, and you deleted all of it. You deleted all of it, right? Because those 70 days of deletions, 70 entire days of deletions, that's probably all the cursory looks at these people. So you had to make all this go away, and also any witnesses who saw anything that would counter the timeline that you were trying to put across at this point in time, which already doesn't work. So any of these people or any of the witnesses who had some sort of contribution that would have made a timeline different and witnessed someone else out there, you had to remove all of them, which is why we don't have them, which is why we only have half the witnesses brought into this case against Richard Allen. So you had to disappear all of the things that would have led away from Richard Allen, so that this timeline and this scenario with Richard Allen works. And we all see it, and everyone saw it. And how do you explain all of what you just heard tonight? Surely Elvis Fields should have been deeply investigated, with his sisters coming forward with those kind of statements. Taylor Hornady talking about Johnny Messer and that vehicle with blood on it on the very day that these girls died. Come on. And who is he visiting? And what did Amber Holder say? You see, this is deep. This is deep. As I've always said, this is a social media case. This case has been solved on social media for years. Now, you thought you could get away with this? I don't know. So we wait for the day that the truth is told about the Delphi murders. And that will be a great day. And until it does, people are going to not stop. Anyhow, if you are new here, please go back and check some of the previous live streams that we've been doing the past weeks. We think you may find some value in them, so please enjoy them. Also, please be aware we have our funding pathways, like you may see attached here: Buy Me a Coffee, the Cash App, and the Super Thanks, and hitting the like and leaving comments and all that nice YouTube stuff. Thank you very much for that. Anyway, I hope that you all had a great day. Apologize, I haven't seen the chat very much. Amber said Patrick Westphal had powerful friends that would protect him. Yes, because it makes sense. If you have a structure, a white power structure that has operated in this area for hundreds of years, and that's your status quo, and that's still in place, and that would explain why the judge, the mayor, the prosecutor, the families, the rich folks, this one, this other judge, this one and that one and this one. It would explain everything. And it would explain who the powerful friends are. Because let's be honest here. Who's powerful? Let's ask that question to close out. Who is powerful? Surely it's not this little guy or that little guy or Richard Allen or Brad Rossi or Jennifer Auger or any. No. How about a judge or another judge or another judge or a sheriff or another sheriff or another sheriff or a state police or a prosecutor? Oh, yeah, those are the power. Those are the power brokers. Oh, yeah. Making a little sense more now, a little more sense now, right? A little more sense there. Powerful friends. Anyhow, good night to everyone. God bless you in the chat. I love you. Thanks on the replay. Love you. Remember, we're calling for a RICO. Go back and watch that if you haven't already seen it. And write your elected officials immediately. Anyway, good night. God bless. Love you. I'm going to eat some more of this delicious food. And have a good night. And I'll see you hopefully tomorrow. So God bless everyone. Good night. And hug your kids, hug your wife.